The M-I-C is the K-E-Y. I said the M-I-C is the K-E-Y, and my M-O is C-U-S-E it. I was just 11 when I went to Bubble Records to get the new digital underground cassette sex packets. Unwrapped it and popped it in the deck, and in less than 20 seconds my mother hit eject. She wasn't a fan of the Humpty Dance, but I was a fan. I remember I was at my cousin's house when I heard Sir Mix-a-Lot was from Seattle. I was bugging out. I still think he's undervalued. Posse up, but I wasn't black. Well, maybe from the waist down, but I digress. Anyway, the coolest portion of In Living Color was the musical performances. I was a goner when I saw Black Sheeps. The choice is yours, I was addicted. And this was back before the internet, so I had to sift through shit to get to DOS effects. And I still think the diggity dap, from Everlasting Method Man to the Gift of Gab, I would be content listening to Charlie Tuna read the breakfast section of the Denny's menu. Ooh, and then came Eminem, and Jesus Christ, he was out of his bleaching mind when he'd speak in rhyme. Almost made me wish my mom didn't treat me right. That was that, the beginning of the end, from the beat in my head to the speech in my pen. When I'm falling out of rhythm, I just start the song again. That was that. That was that. I felt pretty stupid when Pretty David passed the mic, but I got talked into it. Like if he can do it, I can do it. What I got to lose, just a novice, but I took a cotton to it. Some improvement, then I really got into it. For months, freestyles improved through my commute. Constant repetition while I envision my competition in the rear view. Be the best you ever listen to. Anything to get my round ass out this square cubicle. Here we go, Friday night, May 25, party time. Kinda psyched, wanna start it right, so I design mixtapes to make the chick shake. Then I sit and wait for the circle to start. I flirt and I talk until I hear the beat from this song. That's all it takes to get me off the wall. And when I rap, I'm always gonna be off the wall. So I take the microphone as I'm taking the floor. Competition races, some new guys, some familiar faces, I embrace this. The reason that we throw the parties in the basement of Lonnie's place, it starts on a friendly note, but unbeknownst to me, emotion slowly changes. I attack 5 black guys who don't like crackers. Honky see, honky do their wisecrack. Same white supremacists, wannabe Eminem references, but all's fair in love and war, and this is both, so let her rip. Compare myself to Mr. Drum and Rhyme, bravery and slavery, there was no saving me. Oh, is that shirt cotton? The design on it looks like gay camouflage. I was on one-on-one, no one else was drunk enough. Just as Crip spitting about how he's gonna fuck me up. But man, you know how it goes. Got in the zone with my flows where I just couldn't leave him alone. Crowd was strong, loud applause, I was plowing on point, kept spouting off. Then I clowned his mom. Bammy dropped bombs, pot shot on my jaw. Song stopped on slot, got my ass stomped raw, broken nose. I told jokes, blood soaked in clothes. All I wanna know, can we please blow some more? Every other rapper shakes my hand, Jesse straightens my nostril bone, and Hillary takes me straight to the hospital. And that was that, the beginning of the end. From the beat in my head to the speech in my pen. When I'm falling out of rhythm, I just start the song again. That was that. I was hooked on a hook, drawn to a line, shake my head like an etch a sketch, dropped on a mine and still paint vivid sketches. Disrespect and get vivisected, but I'm so good you just expect it. That was that.
Alright, so this is Ordinary Madness, episode 41. I'm Steve Barker, and with me today is Jeremy at Odds, who I just met about 30 seconds ago. Although we've known each other in the Twitterverse, I guess, for a while. But yeah, so you got an album, Languish Arts.
Yes.
Which I just got to listen to a bunch of. So when did you start rapping? Why did you start rapping?
All right, well, growing up a middle-class white kid in Kent, I mean, that was kind of the only career option I had, so...
Right.
No, I was always into music ever since I was a kid, and I got into rap, and I was, amongst my friends, I would always... This was before the internet and stuff, so, I mean, now you push a button and you've got a billion different artists at your fingertips that you've never heard of. But I kind of got into New York hip-hop, like... DOS Effects and Nice and Smooth and Public Enemy and stuff, and there wasn't, with the only rap station in town being Cube and them only playing like mainstream what they did, there wasn't a ton of avenues to find that stuff, so I would kind of, seek stuff out wherever I could, talk to people. Living Color was a big influence. It was like, oh, who's the rap group this week? But I was always into music, and I always had a good mind for, like, remembering the words and stuff like that. And then just when I was 20 22, I think, is when I first started rapping. I was at a party, and a friend of mine freestyled, and he kind of forced me into it, and I got the bug, and then just started. And
so at 22, before that, were you like writing stuff down or like?
No, I didn't rap at all until 22.
Wow.
I mean, I've always been kind of a writer in one way or another, but I mean, I can't say, like, when I was a kid, I would come up with, like, a little song, but it wasn't a rap song or anything, but I never was a lyric writer or anything like that, and then I started freestyling, and then I've heard a lot of rappers talk about this, where they start freestyling, and then all of a sudden, you know, that slowly turns into, oh, well, I want to write this down, see if I can write a song, and it sucked for quite some time, so...
Well, yeah, obviously. But how were you doing these? Were you doing this, like, on your own, or were you doing these in, like, freestyle circles, or, like...
So...
Were we actually putting them on paper, or...
So, when it first started, it was straight freestyling at parties and stuff, and I would, like... I used to work in Bellevue, and I lived in Kent, and I would freestyle, like, to and from work in my car, and... over time got better. We used to have parties all the time, and we had one where the first song on the album, it was originally called One Friday Night. Now it's called That Was That. Sorry. Anyways, That Was That has a verse about this freestyle battle that I got into where I got the crap beaten out of me. So am I allowed to swear in this or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck yes. All right. So yeah, it was one of those things where just kind of I started and then got the bug, and then it was like, oh, there's a party? Is anybody going to be freestyling? And, you know, we just kept doing that for a while, and that slowly turned into writing. And when I first started writing, I mean, have you ever tried to, are you a lyricist at all? Like
rap? No, not really.
Okay,
no,
okay.
No. I write, but I made my attempts at rap, you know, and...
didn't work.
no good. I can write long form essays. I can't write raps.
It's almost the same.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the first stuff I wrote was awful, and without having a structure like for writing lyrics, because it has to fit within the music, and you start writing and you're like, oh, okay, this word rhymes with this word, but then you go back and try and do it to music, and it just does not work. So it took me a while to work that out. What I used to do is. A friend of mine would make beats, and we did. I would have him make like just a 4-bar beat, and I was like, okay, I can make chunks that fit within this, and then that kind of after doing it enough, I kind of figured out, how do I fit my lyrics within each line and whatnot.
Right. So like to hit the pocket and like know when the loop's about to happen and do all that.
Exactly.
And then when you were freestyling, was that something that you were mindful of, or were you just spitting whatever?
So freestyling, at first it was, when I first started, it was hard to even rhyme or whatever. It was just, it used to be us at parties just making fun of each other, and then that turned into rapping, and then that turned into making fun of each other while rhyming. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But when I was freestyling, it wasn't an issue. Like I without sounding too corny, I could kind of feel where the words would rhyme, but without a beat there to write to, it was very difficult at first for me to figure it all out. Or I would write a song and then I'd find out or a verse, and kind of a standard in rap is 16 bar verses, and I would write a verse and find out that I had 16 and a half bars or 17 bars or whatever, and then have to cut stuff or rearrange it. So.
Yeah. One thing, so I should say that I've only gotten familiar with your music in the past hour, maybe. But listen to your whole album, and one thing that, clicked right away was, like, you know how to use lyrics, and you, as far as a lot of the hip-hop that goes now, they just say the same fucking thing over and over again and have a dope beat behind it, and you're actually saying something, which is the hip-hop that I like, which I think, knowing that you're a Black Sheep and Das EFX fan, that's the same hip-hop that you like. But as far as the beats that were going, that you were first writing to, so you said your friend was making them? Were they like the standard, just like MPC, just like... drum beat type of thing?
Yeah, it was interesting. So there's kind of two ways that I write. Ideally, I would have a beat that was made for me, and then I write to that.
Right.
Most of this album took me 12 years to write. I mean, this was from the get-go. I knew, like, once I started writing, I was like, oh, I want to do an album, but I'm a very, very slow starter, right. And I got in my way a lot. And it was one of those things where, like, over time, like, through a succession of bad jobs, bad relationships, bad everything, like, when I was stressed or whatever, I would write. And over time, I developed my voice. And, I mean, for this album that has 10 songs on it, I probably wrote 150, 200 songs. Or pieces of, I kind of collect words or pieces of songs and see where they fit together. It took me a really long time to kind of come into my voice and then have the circumstances line up where it's like, okay, I'm finally gonna record this album. But to go back to your beat question, which you asked 8 minutes ago before I went off on my little sidetrack there. Yeah. A lot of times I would write to, like, whatever beat I could find, and whatever, how there's certain songs that just kind of talk to you and, like, get your energy up or whatever. Yeah. And so I would write to that, and then oftentimes that would coincide with whatever mood I was having or what have you. And then I had this friend of mine who, he was more into techno, but we were friends, and he started doing these beats and worked together. He kind of developed his voice as I was developing my voice, and we went apart and came back together and did this album. And
oh, nice. So is that somebody else who's doing all the beats on this album?
Yeah. I have no skills as far as that goes.
Oh, right. Well, and so one thing, just from listening to the album, a lot of the songs are very almost like stories, but lyrically, like, you're telling some shit. I heard one song about losing your father at a young age, growing up liking hip hop. So, like, how do you like? So, writing a song about losing your father, where does that come from? Or, like, why? How? Or not why, but, like, when does that song come to your mind? Or
well, so I guess, so this album I kind of view as like my diary. It was interesting. I'll come back to the dad question in a second. Yeah. My girlfriend, now fiance, we've been together for like 7.5 years, and 1.5 of the songs on the album are about her, and there's a song called Through the Bottom of a Bottle, which essentially we started dating. She said, let's just be friends, which, as any guy knows, just feels wonderful. Right. We did remain friends for a year, and then we ended up dating, and now we've been together for 7.5 years and are getting married. But essentially, like, I guess the stuff that has inspired me the most is the horrible shit that's happened in one way or another.
Right. Which always makes the best art.
I think so. It's hard for me. Okay, so I was just at my cousin's wedding yesterday. I just got back from Moses Lake today. And it's weird because every time I go to a wedding, it's like the same 8 songs. And, everybody, or most sane people, like happy music that makes them happy. And, like, that stuff very rarely connects with me. Right. I will get happy because of music, but it's generally not happy music that gets me happy. If that made any sense.
Oh, totally. No, I know exactly what you mean by that.
And it's just, when I was younger, I was bitter because I'm like, why? I don't know. I have nothing against Britney Spears, but I'll just throw her name out there because she's a name. Right. I'm like, what? How do people relate to this? Like, there isn't, there's no meat there to grab onto. And I mean, over time, I got much less bitter about it, but I came to realize that people go to music or any art form for different things. Like, I'm not a big fan of action movies, but they're the ones that make all the money in the movie theaters. Right. And so, like, when I released this album, I knew that it wasn't gonna connect with a ton of people. I mean, I think it's quality. I'm proud of it. But I knew that it wasn't gonna be for everybody by any stretch of the imagination. Just because I guess to put a fine point on it, I'm driven by pain.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like my dad died of cancer when I was 9, and that that's kind of thing that kind of sticks around with you.
I would imagine 9. That's tough.
Yeah, without getting too deep, so the same year my dad died, one of my good friends across the street died of cancer, both of them, and then my grandpa had a heart attack and died in our house, and then my uncle died, and this is all between like 9 and 10 and a half, and then and then at the same time, my mom ended up getting remarried, which my stepdad's great, but that's difficult readjusting.
Well, especially for a 9-year-old to go through all like that loss, and then kind of a new person that's like, I'm gonna be your father, or Exactly. And I'm sure he's a great guy or anything, but like that's
oh yeah. Not. Oh, it could have been, George Carlin's a hero of mine. It could have been George Carlin, and I would have butted heads with him because
right, exactly, yeah.
So yeah, I mean that. Despite all the psychological issues that I'm sure that's caused, that kind of, I don't know. I guess I kind of relate to that pain in music more, I guess, and so that's. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like my album is just like a big woe is me story or anything, because I do think that I take, or at least I try to, I take themes and make them relatable to other people. And one thing that I don't do that a lot of rappers do is you don't really find the song on there where it's just me rhyming words and saying clever things. Like I generally try and say clever things. I may or may not succeed, but within the context of a theme or a song or a story or whatever. I mean, in this being my first album, I really kind of wanted to show what I could do and do different styles and touch on different things and whatnot. Yeah.
So when you were 9 years old and all this shit was happening, is that when you were getting into hip hop in the first place, or had you already, or?
I was into music somewhat. Like I remember having the Footloose tape and the Ghostbusters tape.
Dude, both great soundtracks.
The boys are back in town. I mean, this is pivotal for you.
Let's do it for the boy.
That's the song.
I think the Footloose, that soundtrack, I'm pretty sure I had on record and like, jammed out my parents' basement to that. And then would be like, okay, now it's time for Raising Hell fucking Run DMC. Like in between the two of them.
Almost the same. The first song I really remember getting, like rap tape that I remember getting was Digital Underground Sex Packets, which I referenced that on the album as well.
Yeah, I think I have it written down right here. 11 years old, you got Digital Underground.
Yeah. My mom was nonplussed. She was not happy when popped that in, and she's like, "What are they saying?"
And I think that's even a line in your thing. You're like, "Yeah, you get it," and then your mom's like, "No."
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was interesting because her parenting style. My mom, she's a good mother, but she was like, "You can listen to this, just don't listen to it around other people." So it's like, you can be fucked in the head, but just don't share that with anybody else.
Which is excellent. I think my parents were a similar way, and they were like, okay, you can listen to Straight Outta Compton. You can't tell any of your friends' parents that you listen to Straight Outta Compton. Because I wanted to give a cassette of Straight Outta Compton to one of my buddies for his birthday. And my mom was like, no. Like, you're allowed to listen to that at home, but at 12 years old, you cannot give that to somebody as a birthday present because their mother will probably call me up fucking shouting. But so you were supported in your love of hip-hop or love of music.
Yeah, I mean, that was from as far back as I can remember. I mean, I collected everything at one time or another, but music was the one thing where I up until recently, I had 900 CDs. I mean, I've had, if anybody listening still knows what CDs are. Right. I've always collected, like, different types of music and been influenced, like Metallica. I mean, like, my biggest musical influences are, like, Metallica, Tool, Del the Funky Homo Sapien. Eminem's probably number one for me. I mean, I'm kind of all over the board. I've got, like, the Earl Brothers, which, if anybody's into bluegrass, check them out. They're the best bluegrass band in the world. So, yeah, I mean, music kind of always fueled me, and I was... going through junior high, gosh, I wish I could be a fly on the wall in a junior high nowadays to see what it's like. But everybody had their, oh, well, you're a rocker, you're a rapper, you're whatever. And I used to take a lot of shit from a lot of people because I was into a bunch of different stuff. Not like I was beaten up because of it or anything, but it was just one of those things where it's like, oh, you listen to that, but I thought you liked Nirvana, you know. I've just always been kind of driven by music, I guess.
That's really funny that you say that, because I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and I think the iPod is the reason that doesn't happen anymore. Because when I was in junior high, it was like, you're the hip hop kid, because I was the kid with the cross colors backpack who fucking had the wrote Wu-Tang and Sharpie like on my backpack, but I still was down with Chili Peppers and Nirvana, and they were like, wait, you can't like that. But it was such a thing. Like, you were that thing.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't seem like today that's necessarily like, oh, you're a rap guy or you're a
right.
You're a metal dude.
Well, now whatever. I think it's you have an Android phone or you have an iPhone.
Right. I got Metallica and everything on this.
I'm sure they found whatever new ways it is to ostracize each other.
Right. Yeah. There's new ways. Yeah. Like exactly. Oh, your Android phone's fucking whack. Yeah. Right? But growing up in that hip hop, listening to that and listening to Metallica, that's cool. But so was there any sort of lyricist hip hop artist that you were like, oh, that's why I want to do this, because he's doing something, or he or she is doing something right now, and
so the earliest one that I really locked into was Del the Funky Homo Sapien. From his first album on, I was just like, I was obsessed with him, trying to find what I could. And so he released 2 albums, and then he got dropped from his label, and he kind of went quiet for a few years, and in the interim started up his own label. Him and House of Pain I was big into as well. And still am. Just saw Everlast in Tacoma about, 8 months ago.
Oh, shit. I wish I had known about that, man.
I'm too old for concerts, I'll tell you that right now. There were 6 different fights that started around us in this club, and I'm trying to keep my girlfriend from getting hit, and while also trying to keep myself from getting hit. It was good times. Right. So Del, I really locked onto, and then when I heard Eminem, it something clicked for me. It was like, sense of humor wise, especially that first big album of his, the Slim Shady LP.
Yeah.
Sense of humor wise, what he portrayed on that album was very similar to my sense of humor, and when I heard that, I was like, it was kind of like earth shattering. It was like, whoa, he can do this, and this kind of all came about at the same time that I was starting to freestyle and stuff, and just kind of everything came together for me.
Yeah. And then just as far as in your regular life, were you somebody who was already interested in words and that was like writing anyway? Like, granted, you're a fan of hip hop, but just like, were you like writing stuff down far as like, sorry.
Oh, no. I am perennially lazy. I think that's one of the reasons I'm drawn to hip hop is because, yes, I write. I graduated from out something to like get happy with the way the words are laid out, encapsulate it, and then move on from it. But I also try and write it I write this stuff for me, and I don't write it like, well, this won't get radio play unless I do it this way, because I know that's probably not going to happen anyways, because there's 8 billion people out there with an album now. But I want to write it so that other people can relate to it too, because developing your voice, I think, is similar for any, like, if you're a poet, if you're an artist, if you're whatever, you figure out your unique way of saying what you want to say. And I may have the exact same message as you do, but the way we say it is going to be completely different. And so I wanted to kind of put a bow on these thoughts and feelings, and so I can say, okay, I guess that's a decent theme for a song, and it also is personal to me, and so I can put that out there and be done with it. as far as finding other themes for other songs, anything can, like, it can start with an idea, like I've got, these 3 words that rhyme, and I go, I can turn that into something. I have a song on the album called Earl that is very, very dark and twisted song. And that was kind of an experiment that I did. Basically, every word in that song has every major word, they're connecting words, but it has like the sound, so it's like observe, Earl, dirt, and perturb, the world heard him, and then it goes on like that. And I'd never seen anybody do that before. And that started out with, I got this string of words, and I was like, huh. And then I sat there one night, and I just kept coming up with more and more and more words. And over time, it morphed into the song that it is. And on that one, it's a very dark song, but I was kind of led by the words. Like, I didn't know where it was going or what it was going to be about. Right. And I don't usually write that way. Usually, I'll come up with a theme and go, okay, I want to start here and end here. How do I do that? And sometimes that'll be within a verse. Sometimes that'll be over the course of the whole song or what have you. But yeah, I guess, sorry. I just...
No, that's perfect. Because I remember the Earl song, I listened to that earlier today, and it seemed almost kind of like a little snippet of like a short story almost. And some of those songs are what I personally think one of the reasons I got into hip-hop was because they don't really do that anymore. And, like songs like, Slick Rick's Children's Story, or pretty much anything on the B-side of the Eazy-E, Easy Does It album. Huh. Like, each one of those songs, granted it's about robbing a bank and killing people, but each one of those songs is a short story. Right. And that really, personally got me interested into hip-hop. But so you said that you were... what were you at UW? Sorry. What was your undergrad? Or are you got a master's too, right?
No, just bachelor's in creative writing.
Creative writing. Yeah. Okay, so creative writing.
Yeah.
And then, so did that play any part with the hip? Well, I guess it would have to, right?
Well, essentially what happened was, so out of when I graduated high school, I went to Highline Community College, and I took 4 years to get my 2-year degree there. Well, I was working at Circuit City full time, which that used to be a thing.
Yeah.
And I got my AA with an emphasis in philosophy, and then by that point I was burnt out on school and on work, but that's another story.
Right.
And so when I got that, and I always in the back of my head I was like, well, I want to go back and get my bachelor's degree, but I was the guy who was like, people would be going to engineering, going to this because you can get a job, and to me, it was more important to do something I wanted to do, even if it resulted in no job, which it did for a while.
I'm very familiar.
All right. Okay.
An English major with an emphasis in creative writing. Dude, the jobs just fucking... They're throwing jobs at me.
I have now finally made that work, but...
nice. We can talk about that after the
podcast,
and you can tell me how.
Fair enough. So I knew that I wanted to go back and get my bachelor's, and in the interim between getting my AA and then eventually going back to get my bachelor's is when I got into rap. I got interested in writing, and I said, oh, well, I enjoy writing. Maybe I can turn this into something. So I went back and got my English degree in creative writing, and then kept writing music the whole time, and then worked on all my school stuff as well.
Right.
And I always planned to go back and write short stories again. I just haven't done it yet. So.
Nice. Well, dude, you're writing short stories right now.
Fair enough.
If I can just see if I can pull some. Yeah, I didn't do enough research. I apologize, but
no problem. This is the flying by the seat of our pants.
Right? Yeah, we should say that, dude. I felt like I was like waiting outside for like a weird Craigslist like I wasn't sure if I was gonna get raped or if I was gonna have a guest like on the podcast. Like, I'm so glad.
Can it be both? Steve?
Yes. Cross my fingers. But so, I've already talked about this before, but I just want to see. So as far as like story hip hop songs go, when you were becoming a fan of hip hop, do you have any like hip hop songs that are, as far as the story goes, or something that you really were into? I don't want to say relate to, just into. Like personally for me, like there's that Lost Boys song Renee.
Oh,
which is song. Like basically to me is a short story.
Oh yeah.
And like I fucking love that song. Do you have any of those like type of songs?
Well, I compliment you. Nobody on the West Coast knows Lost Boys, and they should because.
Well, I'm from the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
That's another thing I should have asked you already. You're from Seattle, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Kent. Basically, have lived up and down from, I guess, Auburn up north to Linwood my whole life, except for we lived in the Tri-Cities for a couple years while my girlfriend was going to school for dental hygiene school. But yeah, basically, I've grown up in this area my whole life. As far as the story songs, there is a Del Funky Homo Sapien song called "Wrong Place, Wrong Time" that's very story oriented. Mona Lisa I always liked by Slick Rick, and then like when I found Eminem, that was like when I was like, wow, he can do more than just brag for a song.
Right.
He has a B-side called "Kids," which it's 3 verses, and each verse he's playing like he's talking in front of a class, and he's telling the kids about like different drugs. Like one verse is about pot, one is about ecstasy, and one is about mushrooms, I think. And that is one of my favorite storytelling songs. I've never been big into drugs, but that song is hilarious. There's a song by Morcheeba with Slick Rick rapping on it called "Women Lose Weight" that's pretty funny also. But I always appreciate, because I think it takes a certain kind of skill because of the way a song is structured to do a story in it, because you're breaking it into 3 acts like a sitcom is that way. But then you also throw in the added the chorus element, where in the sitcom the chorus is the commercials. Because they always have it's broken up into 3 acts, but I mean each chunk has to kind of contain its own little story within it, and then overall it has to tell a story. So it's not. I mean, I think that's why you don't hear a ton of that stuff, is because it's difficult to do. It's much easier to rap about your car and your women and whatever else.
And I guess they probably don't get radio play either because it's too quick, or
I think it's hard to. I mean, like Eminem's "Stand" song is kind of the exception there, because you've got a story, but even that, it was 4 verses long, which a normal song is 3, and on the radio they cut off the last chunk of it a lot of the time. Excuse me. How dare you make me drink beer while I talk? I've never done this before. Every day. But you don't hear a lot of story songs. You do in country. So that's something I should say is I try and take... I'm not a huge fan of country. I like some older stuff like... Charlie Daniels, and I love a lot of blues like Robert Johnson and stuff like that. And I try and take, I think country like Dolly Parton, they are tremendous storytellers, and I try and work that vibe into my music as much as possible. I mean, a lot of my album is kind of a grab bag of stuff, because I've got story songs, I've got kind of different philosophies on there. I've got one song that's kind of political, but it's not political in the way that, at least that I think that most people make. Like, I don't really identify with one party, so it's not like, you'll hear, especially a lot of musicians, like hip-hop musicians are very left-wing, and then country is very right-wing. And so you'll hear songs from those standpoints that are definitely, for one issue or against one issue or what have you. And my song that I have that's the most political song is more like, don't just... kind of the message is, really think about what you quote-unquote believe in, because so often people just, oh, well, Mom believed this and now I believe it, or whatever. So And I have to question everything, which annoys the hell out of everybody I know. But, whatever.
No, well, that's a great idea. Like, I guess I associate myself as a liberal, but, I don't agree with everything. But just going back to the country thing, that's a great point because, what you were saying, Dolly Parton, like, there's Woody Guthrie, there's Johnny Cash, like,
right.
Those were fucking storytellers.
Oh, definitely.
So were you listening to that as well, like when you were listening to Metallica and Del the Funky Homo Sapien growing up?
Not as time. Well, so the country stuff for me came earlier. It was like 10 and earlier. We used to go camping a lot, and my parents were both into country. And so I grew up from an earliest age. I grew up with old country and like old rock and roll. And I mean, those were. Yeah, I guess that was mainly what my parents were into. So that kind of laid the foundation to a certain extent, and then I found my own stuff. But I mean, overall, I kind of appreciate most music. Most types of music. I can't say I appreciate most music.
Right.
But I will. When I was younger, it was, oh, that's crap. I would never, and I don't do that anymore. Because I don't think a lot of good comes from it, because if you love, I'll just say Britney Spears again, if you love Britney Spears, I'm not going to talk you out of that. And
Right.
Why do I care if you do anyways? You're still a nice guy. It just, we have a different taste in it. What I will do is I can try and broaden your horizons and say, okay, you like her. Have you heard of, I don't know, Patty Rothberg or somebody else who, is also a female voice, or, maybe strikes a similar chord in some way, but in my opinion is a little bit deeper, because that was the thing. Being a white rapper it's not a big deal now, but when I first started this, it was every battle I got into was like, oh, here comes another wannabe Eminem, and which I don't blame him. If I was looking for something to make fun of somebody about in a battle, I would say the same thing.
Well, easy target though.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I mean, it wasn't a big deal to me, but it was. I completely lost my train of thought where I started with this.
Just about other types of music and.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah. No problem. But it makes sense because, we don't have to always stick to one type of music. I forgot where we're going to.
Sorry, I'll just start talking. You wind me up and I go. And then
yeah,
I just
no
peter
problem.
out.
But speaking of battles, I didn't realize that. So you've done some like battle rapping and shit.
Well, just at parties. I mean, I never have entered a competition or anything like that. Right. I've never been like most people. If they do an album, they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to get out there and perform live," and that's never really been my thing. To me, I guess it's more about the craft of it and putting it together than it is about the performance of it. And I think a lot of people fall into music because it's fun, and they're like, hey, this is a way to keep the party going. And
right.
I mean, there's a lot of truth in that. That just wasn't exactly what drew me to it, so it was never kind of a goal that I had my eyes set on.
Have you done any shows, or are you doing any shows?
I have not. When I did this album, like I said, it took me 12 years, and off and on, like it wasn't straight 12 years. Don't expect me to hear 12 years of brilliance in there. There's like a year and a half worth. It was most important to me to just finish it, because this is the one thing I said. If I'm laying on my deathbed, I will have said I wish I would have done this album.
Right.
But I kept getting in my own way and not getting it done. And so I guess it's been almost 2 years ago now, I finally had time, and I said, okay, I'm going to make this a priority and do it, and I'm very happy that I did. But for me, it was never... I'm not saying I'll never perform live, but that was never important to me, and that was something like I originally said I would never perform live. I may change my mind on that at some point, but I mean, it's so... From the point that I got into music to now, the music industry has changed completely. I mean, it used to be you had to have a record label to get you out there, and you were going to sign your life away for 7 album deal, and you're probably going to get one made. It was going to flop, and then there was your music career.
Right.
Now with the internet and tools being as cheap as they are, everybody can make an album, which I think is awesome. But at the same time, you've flooded the marketplace, and you've taken music, or not you, but we've taken music away as like a viable way for people to make a living, except for, a certain percentage.
Right.
I mean, I still think it's possible, but you have to completely dedicate your life to like every person you meet. Hey, have you been to, at odds.net?
Right.
And you have to go out there and just be hustling all the time to, the guys that stand by the bus station down there.
Right.
Here, take my CD.
Put those CD in your hand, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? Oh, wait, I owe you $10?
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck? You just put this in my hand.
Yeah.
Now I owe you money?
And then they try and guilt you into paying them. I didn't want this. I was on my way to lunch, man.
Right.
And because of the internet, everybody can get their voice out there, get their music made, but there's just so much noise now. I mean, if you're a 7-foot tall Korean guy with red hair who's Jewish background and plays the harmonica, there's an artist for you.
Right.
And which is awesome, but it makes it really hard to sell stuff. And I just the whole marketing aspect of it is, I don't know if I have it in me to go out there and do that grind anymore, because this was more, I mean, this is my love, but it was more of a hobby versus, hey, I'm gonna go out there and change the world type of thing.
Right. So like an art project that you wanted to do, you did it for yourself, it's out there, which we should say again. How can people get it?
At odds.net.
At odds.net.
Very simple, very simple. I went through many years, many different rap names, trying to come up with the right one.
Where did that come from, actually? So Jeremy are you Jeremy at Odds?
Yes, Jeremy at Odds. Okay, so when I started, when I used to freestyle, I went by the name Illuminati. Which now has all these, originally comes from this book, which I've never even read, but about this whole underground society, and it's...
Right, they're going to take over the world. They planned 9/11.
Yeah, exactly. They planned everything, they live underground in tunnels, and they pull the strings, and I was into underground hip-hop, and so I thought it would be cool to be Illuminati because they were underground, and... So I went by that, and as I kind of matured and developed my voice, that didn't really fit with what I was trying to do. And so I spent years kind of mulling over in my head, coming up with different names. Like, I'd come up with something, and then I'd check on the internet. Oh, there's already a guy that goes by that. Well, I don't want to go by that.
Yeah.
And so finally I settled on At Odds. And from the research I did, there was nobody else named At Odds. And then right when I'm getting ready to release my album, there's a group on Bandcamp called At Odds, who happens to be a rap group full of white guys. Actually, I think they're a rap group. I can't remember. But I was like, well, I would be so mad if... I mean, like, I don't even think there would be any rule against me calling myself At Odds, but that just... Because I'd been through this, and I was like, oh, I'll go by Murmur, and then I found someone named Murmur, and I'll go by this, and I found... Yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to have any part in doing that to somebody else, so I was like, okay, I'll put it out under Jeremy At Odds, and I know there's no Jeremy At Odds, so I think At Odds is a cleaner name, but, that at the point I was done with the album, it was like, okay, this is incidental. I'm not going to let this stop me from releasing the album because I can't come up with, the right name. So, and as far as At Odds, it kind of, I pride myself and annoy other people on questioning everything, and so I'm kind of at odds, I guess.
Right, I'm with it, and that's a good idea. The stupidest thing you can do is start a podcast by ripping off a Bukowski book, and then anytime anybody Googles Ordinary Madness, they're gonna get 800 billion hits. And
ouch.
Yeah, bad idea.
That's interesting. So I've seen a movie or two about Bukowski. I have not read much Bukowski, but that's interesting. But you get big enough, and then
so the problem is there's a DJ in I think he's somewhere in the UK who puts out a techno mix every I think once a month called Ordinary Madness. And he always kills me in the Google searches because he's way more productive than I am.
Oh,
and
that hurts. I feel your pain.
Yeah, well, no, it was such a stupid thing. I was just like, I don't want it to be called Steve Barker. I don't want it to have anything to do with my name. And then I was looking at my bookshelf and I was like, oh, Ordinary Madness, Bukowski. I love Bukowski. Terrible idea.
Don't beat yourself up too much. Now with the internet, everything exists now. I'll come up with something I think is clever. I'll Google it. 800 people have already. Well, like the name of my album, I worked for a long time on that, and I came up with Languish Arts because I thought language arts is kind of what I'm doing, and then Languish. If you listen to the album, you understand. And there's other Languish artses if you Google it, and at a certain point, it's just like, well, everybody in the world has a voice now, so right. there's not going to be too much out there that hasn't been said already, unless you name yourself $ha. So
right. Well, and just speaking of voices, so another thing that I just happened to catch while listening to your email, you said something about Charlie Tuna and you'd want to listen to him.
Oh, I said I would be content listening to Charlie Tuna read the breakfast section of a Denny's menu.
Yes, that's like one of those lines I was just like, oh my god, I so agree with that. like J5, man, I was so into them. So I just think that you and I probably have a lot of hip hop groups that we're both agree with. So lately I've been having this conversation with a friend of the show, Brian McQuiggan. So at some point this year, maybe a couple months ago, Rolling Stone put out top 50 hip-hop songs of all time.
Oh, interesting.
And him and I have been just talking about this nonstop. Because we have they missed this song. Oh, how the fuck did they add this song? So as somebody who's been listening to hip-hop, since you were 11 or 9 or whatever, do you have maybe a top 3 hip hop songs? And so I just want to give you this. So the way Rolling Stone did it is they were doing it culturally.
Okay.
As in you gotta put fucking Sugar Hill Delight in top 3.
Right.
Which, good song, not my top 3.
I completely agree.
So I'm curious. So if it's not as far as a cultural thing, just personal, Jeremy at Odds.
Wow.
Top 3, and they don't have to be in any particular order, but what would?
Wow. That's an interesting question because the cultural thing. Yeah, there's certain songs like Sugar. I'm not a huge fan of Sugar Hill Gang, but
right. Well, and that's the thing. It's you never put that song on. You're never hanging out and let's put on Rapper's Delight.
Yeah.
But it's I guess you gotta put it somewhere in that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's certain songs I never need to hear, what's the song I'm trying to think of? There's certain songs that just get fucked out. They play them so much. Bad to the Bone by Ted Nugent, which is or not Ted Nugent, George Thorogood.
Canadian.
Yeah. Guns, no guns. That song, I like George Thorogood. I think that's a great song. I never want to hear it again because every movie somebody puts on a leather jacket, they start playing that song. Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight is exactly that way. Well, so as far as cultural relevance, I think that Lose Yourself by Eminem is up there as far as cultural relevance.
It made the top 50.
Okay. I mean, as far as pop songs and popular rap songs, I think that is just lyrically it's phenomenal. It's got a good hook. It's got a good message. Sales wise, it's iconic. Apple ripped it off for an ad and then got sued, I think.
My mom probably knows that song.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's that Eminem song.
Wow. So my favorite
If you could just put a top three, if the cultural thing was out of it, if it was just your top three hip hop songs, like, this is a lot of pressure. I would probably need like a month to like figure this out myself.
I think I can come. I mean, I know there are certain songs that I go back to. Off of the 8 Mile soundtrack, 8 Mile Road by Eminem, I really love that song. There's another song by him, Say Goodbye to Hollywood, that I really love. Excuse me. Wow. I'm trying to. My brain is going blank right now.
Yeah, this is like when Napster first just happened. It was like, pick your favorite song right now. You can get it for free.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what? I have no idea. I don't know anything about music. The Beatles.
I mean, songs that have struck a chord with me.
Yeah,
all the
like
time.
what influenced you, like when Jeremy at Odds was a young kid and he heard hip hop and was like, oh fuck, I wanna do this.
Well, the Humpty Dance was the first song that really locked me in, but Black Sheep, The Choice Is Yours, I love that song.
Yeah. Which was not in the top 50, and
really?
something I've already me and Brian have already talked about because.
You guys have already come to blows over that?
Oh no, he agrees with me.
Okay.
I just can't believe that wasn't in the top 50. Like,
that's not right,
dude. Engine number 9, like, oof, that shit's fucking heat.
Sometimes I rhyme slow, sometimes I rhyme quick by Nice and Smooth. Take It Personal by Gangstar. Mama Said Knock You Out by LL Cool J. That may be the only LL Cool J song I've ever really, really liked. That's no offense to him, but
I'm Bad's pretty dope.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah. And actually, My Radio's good too. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. But Mama Said Knock You Out, I still listen to.
Oh yeah. That should be on everybody's workout playlist.
Oh yeah.
Like whenever you're like feeling a little tired, you're like, oh wait, put that song on. You're like, okay, I can go another 5 minutes.
Let's see, other stuff that struck a chord with me. I don't want to keep going back to Eminem and Del the Funky Homo Sapien, so I'll leave them out. The Das FX, their third or fourth album, I think Generation FX, I think is phenomenal. The only three House of Pain albums, I love all of those, especially the third one, their last one, which came out like right as they were breaking up, and it's a depressing rap album, but I absolutely love it. Everlast's first, or technically second, but first solo album that people know with like What It's Like on it and stuff.
The Whitey Ford.
Yeah. I waited for that album. Like when they broke up, I was like, oh great, I'm never gonna hear this guy again. And when that came out, like a year ahead of time, I'm like, I have to hear this. And then it came out and blew up, which is awesome because it deserved to. Wow.
That's also another thing that I was disappointed about. Top 50 songs of all time. Jump Around wasn't on there. And granted, Jump Around's not my favorite House of Pain song. Shamrocks and Shenanigans has to be is definitely my favorite, but no House of Pain on there. Very disappointing.
They don't get their... There's a lot of... So I don't want to get into the racial thing, but it's interesting to me that when Eminem was coming up... anybody who was white, it was coming out, oh, you're Eminem, oh, he's the only good white rapper, he's the first white rapper. I mean, except for Vanilla Ice, which everybody, in hindsight, viewed as a joke.
Right. But at the time, fucking loved.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that song, except for his pompous attitude, which, I mean, Dr. Dre had, and arguably still has, and so many other people have had, except for that, there's nothing wrong with that song. Now that's another song I never want to hear again because it's been beaten into the ground.
Right.
Their House of Pain, white rap group, Beastie Boys, white rap group, which is weird because they carved out their own little niche and they kind of are outside of rap music. And there was Third Base never gets any mention. That was always kind of interesting to me. Pop Goes the Weasel's a great song too by Third Base.
Well, dude, and the one thing everybody forgets, MC Search from Third Base produced, or not, maybe he didn't produce. I'm lying there. What did he co-produce? Fucking Illmatic.
Nas? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, he didn't produce it because that's all DJ Premier. but like he was whatever the guy. I don't even know what that means. Co-produced it or something, but
Okay.
he was involved.
He
in
used
that
to go
album.
get them Taco Bell when they were recording
Yeah,
Illmatic.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, somehow he was in the studio while they were smoking blunts. He was like chilling there.
Wow.
Like, that's something. But yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
But yeah, House of Pain for sure, man.
The Jay-Z's first Blueprint album, that song Renegade, I think, with him and Eminem is phenomenal, and same with, what is it, Where's the Love, Where's the Love, I love that album. The whole Jay-Z Black album is phenomenal. Telling me to narrow it down to my top three.
Yeah, well, okay,
I'll let that go.
Yeah, let's let that go. We're just about to wrap up, but okay, today, anything because I find this a hard thing to even acknowledge, but like, has anything in the past year, 2 years, hip hop wise, like excited you? Because if it has, please tell me about it, because I want to know about it. Because I've been very disappointed, and not excluding Macklemore or Billy the Fridge from Seattle, but I'm just like, the shit that I hear on, is it Cube or whatever, Movin' 92, like that shit's just fucking. It's like a great beat, and then some guy saying like, I got necklaces. Like, I want to hear lyrics.
Hold on, I gotta write that down.
That'll be the next Jeremy and I single.
That'll be I'm gonna do a concept album about I've got necklaces. No, I mean the last couple years, I've a similar situation. There hasn't been a ton. The Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, is one of my favorite rap albums ever. I think that's phenomenal. Just the whole way the whole thing comes together. The mix on it is horrible. It sounds like they played it through a Fisher-Price record player from 1972, but it's just phenomenal. Gosh, the last couple years I've been checked out a little bit. I mean, I can go back a little bit further than that and maybe turn people on to stuff that I think is good. Atmosphere has an album called You Can't Imagine How Much Fun We're Having, which that's one of my favorite albums of all time. Bubba Sparks has an album called Deliverance. This is probably 10 years old now, that I think is phenomenal. There's a guy out of New York who, as far as I know, hasn't done anything in the past couple of years, but his name's RC, ARECEE, RC, and he's got 3 albums out that I think are really good, and actually, if you like my stuff, you'd probably like his stuff.
Well, I would say that about Atmosphere. I'm surprised. So the album that you mentioned, when did that one come out? Because I'm not sure if I've heard that one. Because like God Loves Ugly, Lucy
Ford.
Lucy Ford. Like, dude, I was all about Atmosphere. Like, when I was in college, like 2000, early 2000, like loved him, and then I just felt like he just kept putting out the same album over and over again, and it was just like, I don't dislike him. I was just like, wait, dude, you're like fucking 40 and you're still talking about like smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee and trying to fuck chicks. Like, granted, I'm almost 40 and I'm doing the same shit, but like, I was hoping you were gonna like grow up and we would grow up together.
Lead the way. Know? I need something new.
Yeah, like I didn't like. It reminds me of like when I liked punk, and like bands like NoFX. Like, I grew up and they didn't, and that's how I felt sometimes with Atmosphere. It was just like, dude, we're growing up together, and like, come on, let's stop talking about this stupid shit and let's talk about like what we're doing as adults.
Right. I see, that's interesting because I think that most artists kind of have, I'm going to use generalizations, but they have one or two things to say and they kind of keep saying it in different ways.
Right.
Now, I think that your core message kind of stays the same, barring a brain injury or something that completely changes your personality.
Yeah.
But the risk that you take in evolving too far in a different direction too quick is you lose people. And I think most artists most artists feel like they are evolving and they are taking these big risks, even at the risk of losing fans. But I mean, I think that most people have a certain range that they're going to kind of operate within. And I mean, really, a lot of music is just kind of, I mean, a lot of life is nostalgia. It's about going back to what you liked when you were 14 years old and, you know, and retelling that story or reconnecting with that emotion or whatever. And I think with Atmosphere, I think they've done a lot of that. I mean, I think they have evolved because now they have a live band that they record and play with.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, the other option is, you know, Snoop Dogg. He does very similar stuff for a long time, and then he wakes up one day and says, I'm going to do reggae. And I'm sure he lost a lot of fans because of that and probably picked up some new ones. So it's
the unfortunate thing about Snoop Dogg is, you know, he puts out one good song every 5 years and puts out 20 albums, you know, like, but just we're like way over time.
Oh,
what would be the next? Is there going to be a next Jeremy at Odds album? And if so, is you going to be talking about, because you worked on this for 12 years,
right?
So it's now going to be like what, it's married life, or you know,
yeah,
like your job life, or you know, what's it?
So I would like to do more music, and I would like to take it in a different direction. I want to find a new person or new people to work with musically, to kind of bring something new out of me. I love blues music. I would love to do something blues inspired. I'd love to do something bluegrass inspired. I'd love to do something that's more of what people refer to or consider like a traditional hip hop album, but my spin on it. I would definitely like to do more music. I would do it in a different way this time.
Right.
I mean, I think that power to Macklemore. He's worked his butt off to get where he's at, and he deserves the success he's got. I think that I could write a song like Thrift Shop. I mean, it wouldn't be Thrift Shop, but I think I have the talent to do that. And I think that if I were to, the next step for me, I would either do an EP or I do like a single, because I don't think people are buying. I mean, to generalize, I don't think people are buying full albums anymore. Mm-hmm. You hear Gangnam Style and you're like, oh, I need to have that, and you click a button and it's yours, and you listen to it for a week and then you never think about it again.
Right.
And then everybody has those albums that they go back to, you know. And ideally, you know, every artist wants their album to be that album that you go back to and that people really connect with. But I mean, to get back to your question, I definitely want to do more music. I'm just kind of, this album came together in kind of a weird way, and I'm letting that settle in and figure out, you know, where I'm at in my headspace, and then going from there, I guess, is the best way to put it. So,
right. Cool. Well, that's a good way to end on. And dude, thank you so much for doing this.
No, I appreciate it. This has been awesome.
I think we scheduled this about like 2 hours ago. It was perfect. Yeah, and so where can people get your album again?
Okay, so atodds.net. You can also search for Jeremy at Odds. I'm on Bandcamp, iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, Spotify, whatever's out there. But the easiest way, you can get to all of that through atodds.net. And then you can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy at Odds. All spelled out.
Forgot to mention that Jeremy at Odds is a very witty Twitter person. So
well, thank you.
You should follow him. He doesn't give you all that like other crap that other Twitter people do, where they show you pictures of their food. He just says witty shit. So man, thanks a lot for doing this. This has been super fun. Like more than let me just double check to see what I got in my notes here that I scribbled down. Yeah, I think I got it all. Yeah.
Cool. No, this has been awesome. I appreciate you letting me talk, and I'm sorry for boring your listeners.
Oh, no, dude. I don't think anybody's going to be bored on this one. This was excellent. Thanks a lot, Jeremy.
Thank you.
I'm just sitting here sipping this fifth that I'm gripping since my ambition is gone missing again. Now listen, money and love are fucking me up, cause I don't got either one and I'm looking for something to clutch, something to touch, something my own to hold. But as long as I'm alone, there's no way I'm going sober. Wake up every morning on the lawn to make apology calls. Sorry Olsen twins, I thought that you were older. People ask me if I get tired of the hangovers. Yeah, they're my main motivation to stay loaded. I cope with my emotions the only way that I'm knowing. And so what if I go pee on my clothes? Nobody noticed. I'm going for broke with nothing to show, but I'm corroded liver. I'm not quitting till I'm frozen in a coma. So I'ma get loaded until the cows come home, because at least then I won't be so lonesome. Bring in the chorus. So everybody just clap your hands. We're all gonna die, that's the master plan, man. Don't even know why the fuck I try, so let's all get drunk because we all gonna die. The hair of the dog keeps me tearing along. I'm preparing my buzz because I'm raring for drunk. Unaware where I was when this cutie shows up, who is soon to become another note in my book. I'm a bear with these claws and she's a scared little bunny. You can try to run, honey, but no way to hide from me. I got this notion, so I motioned to her. Why don't you come over here and you can pull up a chair? Ordered more sedation while I asked her what her name is, but I forgot the name just as soon as she gave it. Lost in conversation when the waiter said last call. I got the condoms waiting, hope she won't say that's all. But it's not, she asked me back to a place. Wasted no time, pretty face and her body was banging. Moaning all night and talking dirty to me. And then I woke up in the morning next to a circus freak. So everybody just clap your hands. We're all gonna die, that's the master plan, man. Don't even know why the fuck I try, so let's all get drunk because we all gonna die. So everybody just clap your hands. We're all gonna die, that's the master plan, man. Don't even know why the fuck I try, so let's all get drunk because we all gonna die. My incidents with beer goggles got me sitting here sober, reconsidering swallowing my sorrow. If alcohol can make a wildebeest look like a model, then maybe I should take the 12 steps, get off the bottle. Nah, Alcohol Anonymous is for quitters, so I'm sitting here wallowing in this picture of Guinness. It's you and me, liver, cause I'm finished with women. But this chick across the bar is quickly getting my attention. Got my liquid courage flowing, so I hurry over. With blurry vision, trying to play the role of Casanova, but no luck. The cutie pie had the bluest eyes, but her conversation got me contemplating suicide. And then she starts to tell me her dreams. I could almost see the steam when she's trying to think. She was trying to be vibing with me. Her motive's obvious, she's asking me to buy her a drink. But I never buy a woman a drink. Why put alcohol in you when I can pour it in me? So she's going to leave, but I'm going to be happier alone here, soaking in peace. So everybody just clap your hands. We're all gonna die, that's the master plan, man. Don't even know why the fuck I try, so let's all get drunk because we all gonna die. So everybody just clap your hands. We're all gonna die, that's the master plan, man. Don't even know why the fuck I try, so let's all get drunk because we all gonna die.